Remember when I said I shouldn't vlog because my life isn't very interesting? Well, who walks around looking like this? This is the end of my day. Maybe. So I have to go get my boys soon from their dads, and they have football practice. And from my very first Vlogtober, I did mention egg donation, and Miss Cat from Reddit Fashion wanted me to talk about it. So mind you, I said that I wanted to be an actress, and there was a publication called Backstage West, and they had Backstage West and they had Backstage. So if you were in New York, you got Backstage. If you were in Los Angeles, you got Backstage West. So it was released once a week. I don't know if they still do it, but they had all kinds of tips and tricks for actors, and then the very back was always like auditions. So I would drive down to South Coast Plaza once a week and go to a local Barnes & Noble, or there was a little newsstand upstairs in South Coast, and I would get the Backstage West. Well, the term starving actor is because if you're trying to work as an actor, it's hard to maintain a regular job because you want to be available for auditions. And if you have an agent, or you just never know when someone's going to call for an audition, and if you work a regular job, you're choosing between the audition that could change your life or your income. So starving actor is the reason. So anyway, they had a little ad for want to make money, and it was called Center for Egg Options. And I really sat on it for a long time before I went forward with it, because how would I feel? I always thought I was a strange individual. I always struggled with like depression and just feeling like the black sheep of my family, not really fitting in, and a lot of that is my own doing. I know that now as an adult. I know that I separate myself from people to prevent myself from getting hurt, or if I feel hurt, sometimes I'm just uber sensitive. So I worried that what if the egg that went into a family didn't feel like they belonged, and what if they didn't encourage that egg that in my head was already a girl to be creative, and what if she felt stifled, blah blah blah. So really had to struggle with that. So filled out the application, and my first goal with the money was actually to get a boob job. That sounds really silly, but yeah, I had always been really self-conscious about having small boobs, and I had a huge ass. I am quite tiny now. My butt is not what it used to be, but I had my nickname was Bubbles, and I really struggled with it. I mean, J-Lo was starting to be poppin', but I really didn't embrace that. So, I mean, I are coming from a kid who wore t-shirts over her bathing suits for a long time. So the very first step, I had to do a collage of pictures of myself from being an infant to my adulthood. And some of them were my modeling pictures, some were just me as a baby and a kid, and you filled out your application. Well, then they took that information, and I guess they had like little books that they left on counters for future parents to look through. And back then it wasn't to find like the superhuman, you know, it wasn't like you had to have an incredible IQ and be beautiful. It was more so to match to the mother, which I was more in agreement to than now, where it's like create the perfect human. I was selected right away, and I was very nervous about it, and went down to the office, talked with the center people, and then the very first step was a psych evaluation. And I had to sign over a lot of papers saying that I had no right to the eggs, that I couldn't come back and be like, I want this embryo or child, like, and they really dig into the psyche. So I kind of thought maybe that I wouldn't pass through that, because I always felt like I might be kind of a little crazy. But the more involved I became, the more I realized how important this was, that another family was willing to pay such an like exorbitant amount of money to have a child because their eggs weren't viable. And then it became more important than it became about the money. So I had to go down and see a regular doctor, and the first step was getting our cycles together. So they put me on birth control, so that way when the prospective mother and I were on the same cycle, that she would be ready to accept my eggs. And then from there became the fertility shots. And I had to have fertility shots in my back daily. And what that does is take one egg and essentially turns it into multiple eggs. So I think the average was like 16, and I produced like 27 eggs out of the one. So right before you do the actual process, like the night before, you take a shot which makes your eggs viable in a petri dish, so that way they could inseminate the eggs. And then they were allowed to harvest up to 3. So they could save the eggs and perform the procedure up to 3 times. And I'm pretty sure that it went through because I got a thank you card from the family, and then my information was stored on files, so that way if there was ever a problem with the infant, they needed blood or, you know, something that I could possibly have from DNA, they could contact me. But other than that, I'd never been contacted. And then when I was done, I was done. I was like, I am never doing this again. And I remember the first appointment when the doctor did an internal ultrasound, and I had no idea. I mean, I was 19 years old, and this giant probe was inserted inside me, and I felt so violated. And I called the center, and they apologized for not explaining things, but I was already this vested, so I kept going. When it was done, I did not actually get my boobs done. The check was enough that I could probably get a deposit on boobs, but I wouldn't be able to buy any bras or new clothes to go with the new boobs. So I don't know, I did what dumb kids do. It's like we probably had a whole shitload of Starbucks, and I invested a lot of it into my acting career classes and stuff, but yeah, where'd that go? So they were supposed to destroy my file, and my file ended up getting left out, and another family called and wanted me. So the second time was not as positive. It was a different doctor. I ended up agreeing. The money was more, substantially more, almost double. And I figured, well, I already know the ropes, might as well do it. But the new doctor was a jerk. And I was in the middle of taking the shots, and I think it was progesterone was the drug. It wasn't working. Well, come to find out, that particular drug can go bad. And the doctor accused me of not taking my injections, and I called the center, and I was flippin' livid. I'm like, do you want to see the holes in my body? So actually the doctor ended up calling, apologizing, and they put me on a different treatment. And the next time, even though it was a shorter dosage of treatments, I still produced 22 eggs. So I never got a thank you card or anything from that family. I think them and their doctor sucked. And then I was like, please don't have anyone call me again. So I was 20 years old by the time that finished, and I ended up being pregnant with my first one at 22. So now that I have children, like, I understand in a different sense. I don't regret it. I think it's wonderful. I mean, you lose your eggs with every period anyway. Might as well help somebody that's willing to pay for it. And now I realize anybody that's willing to pay that much money for eggs, those children are well taken care of. I'm sure my current children wish that somebody could buy them off. So that was my egg donation story. Now I almost did another egg donation. It was before Haslin. Around my 32nd birthday, I found a company that would take eggs from someone as old as I was if you could prove that you had successful egg donations in the past. Well, in the process of looking for my old medical records, I had discovered that Center for Egg Options was no longer in business. So I wasn't able to get my medical records so I could prove that I had successful donations. So I had really planned on doing another one. At this point I had a higher appreciation for it, and at the time I had not gone back to work. It was in between, after I had Troy, I quit my job, and when May was a couple years old, I went back to work. I absolutely love my children. I mean, without fail, I love them so much, but I don't really understand the pressure that people get to procreate. Like, a young couple gets married, and the first question that they ask is, when are you going to have children? And there's so much life that could be had not having children. Now, I'm not saying that I regret having children. I do not. It's the life that I chose, and I'm living it. But on the flip side, if you don't have kids, you can have a perfectly wonderful life. Just like you can have kids and have a perfectly wonderful life. You know, so I don't really understand all of that. There are things that you can do when you don't have children, and kids are an amplifier. Anything that is really good in your relationship, besides sex, will be amplified, and everything that's really bad will be amplified. And I learned that firsthand with my marriage when I had my first 2 kids. And I mean, granted, I was 22 when I had Ryan, and I was 25 when I had Riley. I was a baby. And it's a shame that our eggs or parts start to go quote unquote bad because I really feel like the best time to have kids is when you're in your 30s and 40s. So it's a shame that eggs start to turn and you have a higher chance of a child with like Down syndrome or other disabilities if you wait quote unquote too long. But man, if you have the money and you're young, freeze those eggs. Go live your life and come back to them. Because your brain is just so different when you get older. The way I parent now versus the way I parented when I was younger is totally different. And it's, you live a little bit and you see things and you realize that some things aren't such a big deal and other things are a really big deal. And, you know. So if anybody out there is watching this vlog and you're feeling like a certain way because maybe you don't have children, your life is still good. You know, you don't have to be defined by having children, because most women are searching for a way to define themselves besides being a mother, because you were someone else before you were a mother. And if you have a crap ton of kids like I do, way to go, you know. Or if you're just someone watching this, just watching this, and you know, you're neither here nor there, thanks for watching. Can you tell me why your brother's rapper sucks?
One, he says the same thing over and over again. Okay. And when he finally starts to rap, like in the middle of the song, it only lasts for like 50 seconds. And then at the end, he says the same thing over and over again. Okay. And Donnie was here to see it too.
Right.
And Donnie thought Lil Pump was cool.
No, he didn't. You're funny.
You know that
no,
video
he didn't.
said proof that Lil Pump is mentally retarded? That just, Donnie said that just makes me like him better.
No, he said that makes me like him because he's actually not afraid to be himself. He never said anything about him being a good rapper. Yeah, I'm positive. That's why you lowered your voice, didn't you?
Not allowed.
You're a little garbage, bro.
It's your bubblegum gum gum.
Yeah, you wonder why your voice is so low right now. Keep it down so Mom doesn't hear that. I'm starting to fucking lose this conversation.
Lose this conversation. Riley, can you tell me what a Gucci gang is?
Gucci is a brand.
Okay.
What's gang?
A gang?
So.
That's like gangsters. Like, they're in a gang.
Okay.
You know, like, you can love my hood, B.
No.
Okay. Okay, so because I'm not, wait, listen, I'm not high fashion, so I can't do Gucci, but I wear a lot of those clothes like the LuLaRoe from, you know, like the leggings and stuff that I buy from Angel.
I have no idea.
So could I be the LuLaRoe gang and rap about it?
Sure, why not?
Okay. So if you're
be a cringy mom though.
Cringy what?
Lula gang. Lula gang.
Lula in the house. Oh no, that's too valley. All right, so help me out here because the last time I read the lyrics to that one song.
What?
Remember when I read the lyrics to the song on the way home from the water park, and I was like, "This is trash."
Oh, that song that Troy likes, that still listens to, is called Rolex.
You liked Rolex. Okay, language. So,
I got it.
rolling with a dab of ranch is no longer cool.
No, I'm gonna say balls.
Is that for you?
Oh, thank you. Here.
And then, oh, thank you so much.
Thank
this
you.
does have the extra pump in there.
Can I have a, I love your eyeshadow. What is
Oh,
that?
thank you. It's the Morphe palette, 350.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I really like the orange.
you.
It looks really good. Can I get a venti straw, please?
Yeah.
It's good. I have that palette. Sit down.
Thank you so much.
Be humble.
Have a good one.
Right.
Let you listen to the song if you explain to me why you like it.
I like the sound, and I like what he says, and I just like rap.
Wait a minute. What does he say, Ryan?
The same thing over and over again.
But what is he actually saying? He said
All I do
something
is
about...
count racks. I tell the bit, throw shit back. Throw shit back.
What do you throw? What are you throwing back?
It's part of the song.
yeah, you don't even know.
He's counting racks.
What's a
Tell
rack?
the bit, throw shit back.
You
Oh,
don't know what counting racks is?
what is counting racks?
Counting racks. Let me explain it to you.
Aslan, what is counting racks? I know in my business, counting racks would be a rack of chips, which would be money.
Racks of money.
Now, how is he
Racks
getting?
is money, Riley.
Okay, but
You
how?
just learned that now.
But how is it racks? Like, is it? It's
Racks
like,
the money, Mom.
yeah,
Racks
but like
money.
a till, like a till from the bank.
What?
Like, how is it a rack?
It doesn't matter.
Like a stack of money, like this big.
So you call that a rack?
Yes, they call them racks.
Why don't you just call it a stack?